Hello and welcome to this episode of Entrepreneur TV, where our business is all about your business. Today's guest is quite an interesting one. Have you ever thought about reclining chairs and beds? Maybe it's something you're thinking about maybe when you're a little bit older, or maybe you have elderly relatives that maybe require one. But it is a bit of a minefield out there. There are some sharks about, but I'm glad to say I've got someone who is a real decent human being when it comes to this. Shaun from Channel Recliners. Nice to meet you, Shaun.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
So, you have a business called Channel Recliners. Where actually is it based?
Based in Yorkshire, place near Castleford. I've also got a depot in Newmarket, so a bit further down south. But yeah, we cover the UK, so most of the time, although we've got premises, we're working from a van most of the day.
So you're very busy up and down the UK, which is good news for anybody watching because they can get you wherever they are.
They can, yeah.
So what about you from the very beginning? What is it that made you think this is the industry I want to be in?
Good question. I kind of fell into it, I guess. So I left school at 16, went to work with my stepfather in a wood mill and did that for many, many years. Didn't particularly enjoy it, but I sort of did it because I wanted to pay my way and pay board. And then many, many, many years later, I worked for a company in the Midlands very happily, met my good wife. My wife lived up north, and like most good men, I followed my wife up north, kind of put myself out of a job and had to find a job. So I started looking around for ideas, something I could do, and I started working selling cleaning chemicals because that was my background. And then one day I went for a job. The job just was a job that had a van with it, and I wanted a van so I could start my own business. And it was in healthcare with a company called Curtin Healthcare. They invented specialist seating in the UK maybe 50 years ago now. And so I read up on it, didn't know what specialist seating was, didn't really know about the company. Put myself down for the interview. They had a van, so I was happy. And then driving for the interview, I rang one of their customers up and said, "What do you know about this company?" And they said, "Oh, don't go work for them. They're a nightmare." I thought, do I turn around?
Oh.
Didn't turn around. I went and met my manager at the time, a guy called Mark, and within probably 20 minutes of chatting to him at the interview, I just thought, this is the job for me. Wasn't a salesy job, although it's classed as a sales role, but he was doing seating, helping people, and he just relayed some stories from his time in the industry, just generally helping people, and I just had an immediate kind of love for it. And then, not look back. Maybe 15 years, yeah.
So was there any experience in there with what you do now back in that job that you brought into this?
Not that you could really put on paper. It's more about our industry. I always call it like a bedside manner. So it's not, you don't have to be over academic. And the people we employ now don't have to be over academic. They're all bright people. A lot of them got degrees and things, but you can't teach them to be the person. So they've got a good bedside manner. They can relate to people, and they genuinely want to do good.
So it's being a bit of an empath, and that's an important part of your business.
100%, yeah, definitely.
So the other amazing thing about your business is, I know when I was looking on your website, and I think people have this stereotypical thing of what a recliner looks like, you know, and
Yes.
I was actually really quite shocked at the amount of styles and everything, and it seemed really modernised. But one thing I loved, handmade products.
Indeed, yeah. Over the years, we've done imported products, products made in different countries, standard size things. I've always gone back to handmade, bespoke product. Many reasons. Mentioned it, lots of people think rise recliners, particularly for old people, or when we get less good enough feet. They're not. We do them for all sorts of people. It aids comfort, so comfort's a huge thing. We spend so much time sat down. Why wouldn't we be comfortable? Why wouldn't we need something that's the right size? So it's kind of, it's developed from there. When I started seeing younger people, they've got the stereotype of an old-fashioned chair. We advertise sometimes old-fashioned chairs because lots of people do buy them, but we also do modern-looking chairs. So when we actually sell a chair, we sell a chair based on the size and the way it moves. The way the chair looks is down to the person. So when we see them, we say, you can have a traditional scroll arm, you can have a nice modern flat arm, You can have a one waterfall back, a two, a three. You can have this fabric. You can have multiple fabrics. So we try to tailor it to bring out their personality a little bit. But we've moved away from the old-fashioned sort of Queen Anne old-school chairs. Although we still get asked for them, and some people are that set against not having them, and we show them all the modern options. They go, what's the other one again? And you end up...
I was going to say, because there is a real resurgence in going back to like the old
what we're comfortable with.
Cottage core, so you may find
it happens.
It's going to come back in again with certain things.
Yes.
But we touched on it at the start, and you are dealing with some of the most vulnerable people in society.
Yep.
And I'm afraid people... They prey on people like that, some, don't they? So how do you stop like the heavy sales tactics?
It's tough. So we don't tolerate that. We don't. We keep as far away from it as we can. But because we work in that industry where it's known and it's expected, I almost feel like we need a solicitor with us to say these guys are different. They're going to do it a different way.
Yeah.
We've got 2 or 3 big competitors. We like to do things different. We don't sell on the day, so it's strange. If we go out and see somebody, we lead with a point, but we say, when we come out, you don't make a decision. We don't want to know a decision, because ultimately, we are seen as a salesperson. We're in someone's home. It's intimidating. I'm a 45-year-old man. If someone comes to look to quote me for garden work, for a kitchen, for a loft boarding, I get anxious because I think they want to sell. So we always say to the customers, when we come out, we give you the price before we come out. Nobody does that. You've got the price, so that's done. That's that awkward conversation. You don't want to spend an hour talking about a product when they're thinking, come on, what's the price? So we say, the price is this. There's your price. When we come out, we'll talk you through different styles, different actions, different movements. Most of the conversation is about the sizing, because nobody sits in the right size chair.
I was going to say, because that was like one of the most unusual things I saw on your site, is giving a bit of a demonstration.
Yeah.
That you like measure each sort of section.
Yeah.
Like I'm only 5'4", pint sized, and I imagine I'll probably shrink as I get a bit older. But people change, and so not one size fits all, does it?
It doesn't. As a nation, we're getting taller. People are getting taller. People are living longer, so it's given different challenges. But most people, if they're sat at home in a chair, if they look down, there's a very strong chance the seat they're in is too long.
Yeah.
95% of chairs. Seats are far too long. It seems really simple. But we want them sat on the backs. We don't want cushions behind people. We want bums and backs touching the chair, and then the whole of the leg supported to just behind the knee. Most chairs are too long. I personally think this makes us slouch, for one, and the seat's too long. That has a knock-on effect, so it tilts our pelvis back. We call it posterior sitting, or posterior pelvic tilt. Short periods, it's fine, but if you're doing that for 6, 7, 8 hours a day, which isn't uncommon, over time, we can get these fixed postures, and our heads are they're so heavy, our head. If we've got this slump posture, this C-shaped spine, our head wants to be over our pelvis, and it tends to come forward. So we do see people later on in life, typically, where they've developed this curvature, and sometimes you haven't got physio quite often, and it just gets worse.
The other thing as well, I had to see on my notes that, are you an occupational therapist, or you've done some elements of work in that?
Yeah, not occupational therapist. I work with them and I trained them for many, many years. So I wouldn't dare say we're better because they're tutors. But we've picked the best bits. So we work with probably tens of thousands over the years. We've trained posture, pressure management. So we've learned all the good parts, I would say. An occupational therapist is there to know the person, know the condition. Although I've got my views on that. We're there to know the seating and what can be done. So if we do assessments, I pride myself on knowing chairs inside out. I know quite a lot about posture. The occupational therapist is normally there for a lot of our assessments. They know a lot about posture. But if it's somebody who's elderly, less mobile, we see a lot of them as well, because we do more complex seating for nursing homes and care homes. I'll try to involve family and carers and things, because chances are they know a lot better than the occupational therapist. So sometimes we go in, we talk to somebody, and I'm looking at the carer in the back of the room and no one's speaking to, thinking, this guy knows this person 10 times better than the OT and me. And we don't want to tell the carer how to do their job. So we're trying to involve people and say, well, you know Mrs. Smith, does she look comfortable because she can't communicate as well? And we'll talk to the person and try to get little hints off them. So, so long answer, but not an OT. I'm doing my Oxford Brookes postgraduate on complex posture management. So at the moment, I'm studying that.
And how many do you think other companies actually have someone of your calibre doing what you do? I would very much doubt it.
They do have occupational therapy is quite a big thing. So lots of people employ occupational therapists, or they're on paper, they've got an OT. Seldom would you see them in someone's home or giving advice. So sometimes it's a bit of a poster boy or woman. And the posture bit can be taught. So the main thing for me, anyone we've got going out seeing people, they come in different shapes and sizes, and we've got a very, very small team. They've all got the same passion. So I know whoever goes out and sees somebody gets the same service. And they are intelligent people. But the best thing for me is that they care so much, they want to get it right.
Oh.
And they're not there to get a sale and walk away and go, I've got a sale.
That's good. You see, that's again.
Sleep at night as well.
Yeah, you're coming back to the point that you're an empath, and your staff as well, and all the people you train have got that same, sort of attitude to go along with that, and I think that's really important. But there is a real importance of making sure that you do have like good seating and things.
Buying a recliner chair can be a real hassle. At Channel Recliners, we get it. No pushy sales tactics, just a stress-free experience. Each chair is expertly measured by our qualified professionals to ensure it's a perfect fit for you. And here's the best part: honest, upfront pricing with absolutely no hidden fees. Call us today and schedule your completely free home assessment service.
But you see, it's not just about posture in a chair. It can affect your health in other ways, can't it?
Yeah, even things like breathing, digestion. So we talked earlier about if you're slumped, for instance. But even in a chair, if a chair's too wide, really, really simple, you look for support, so you'll just lean to the side. And then you're putting weight through, we call them your seating bones, your tuberosities. And ideally, you want to spread that weight. If you can't spread the weight over two, you're going to spread it over one. And then the blood flow can't get round, oxygen, nutrients, has its knock-on effect. So that can have a knock-on effect which can damage your skin condition. We see lots of problems in the UK with pressure ulcers and damage.
I was just about to say that. That must be, especially for those of the elderly type who are housebound, who can't move about much, or they're in their end of days care. It must be really hard to see, but you've got solutions to help them with that.
Yeah, prevention better than cure. So we see people that have been in hospital stays, stuck in bed, and they come out with a pressure ulcer, and then suddenly we're conscious if we provide a chair, sometimes we do it the right size, comfort, they fall in love with the chair, and then they don't want to leave the chair. And we'll say, you can't sleep in this chair, it's there to sit in it. The more times you get out of the chair, into a bed, onto a toilet, you can't beat that, because it's keeping things moving. So even if we do like the perfect chair, they're in love with it, we say just build your tolerance up.
I can imagine them getting so comfy there, thinking, oh my goodness, this is such comfort and I'm so happy here.
And they're stuck. Yeah, they don't want to leave
they don't want to move.
Like a new bed.
But you do beds as well, don't you?
Do. Yeah, we try to think of a 24-hour cycle, so 24-hour posture. People have generally, not all the time, they spend a lot of time in bed, we spend a lot of time seating. It's not much in the world to ask for a comfortable bed and a comfortable chair. We do chairs and beds in one, so we do a bed that will literally turn you, stand you, all these various things, these complex things. Often we don't need them. Often it's they've seen it on the internet and think it's a great idea. And we always think about safety versus practicality. Some of these things out there are fantastic for 1 in 100 people. For another 20 in 100, it might be dangerous. But beds, we tend to keep as simple as we can. Profiling beds, basically. So a lot of people will benefit from lifting their upper body, getting the chest up, aid with breathing and things like that.
Yeah.
Also, we see lots of people with swollen ankles, swollen feet, edema, water retention, which makes as a knock-on effect. So they struggle then to walk, then they walk less, then they're less active, then they eat more. It's just this knock-on effect. So it's important just to get the basics right. So I always start with size.
I can imagine when the clients have got this dream chair, dream bed, I can just imagine some of the comments that you get. It must be rewarding.
It is, yeah. One of those rewarding bits of the job is when you do the handover. So we try to do start to finish the same person. So if somebody's been out and assessed you, because we do become friends with them, it sounds really corny. I've had 3 people ring me on the way here today that have had chairs, sofas, beds. There's nothing outstanding. They'll just ring to check, or they'll ring to say my holiday's gone and all these things. But when you get the feedback at the end, it's phenomenal. And sometimes it's from daughters, sons. We see a lot of people, we do good care homes as well for some people, and it's seen as you're spending some inheritance. And I get that. So we go to care homes where people spend £2,000 a week in a care home, and we'll put a chair in that might cost, a fraction of that, maybe a week and a bit's worth of care. And I'll invite the son or daughter or to come to the assessment, see how we operate. And it goes from being very standoffish to, our biggest sort of fans and recommending us to all sort of relatives. And then when you see them, a big thing is energy. So we've all got a pot of energy, and you start the day with this pot of energy, don't we? I always think. Yeah. You end the day, whatever point it depletes. So seating in a bed, if it's the right sort of size, keeps the energy. It lasts longer in the day. And some of the nicest comments, many, many years ago, I worked with a massive nursing home group, and I complained to them that I thought there were too many people in bed. I was going to lots of places and seeing lots of people in bed. I didn't think they need to be in bed. They didn't like hearing that. No. I didn't get the contract, no surprise. 2 years later, they contacted me and said, we've got a lot of people in bed. I said, oh, yeah, I've heard this. And we went out to the trial. We won the contract at the time. But the most rewarding bit in my last 12 years, we did a 3-month period, and it was going around all these homes, assessing people in bed. And in 3 months, we saw 87 people. I could tell you names of loads of them. None of them were left in bed. They all got out of bed. And the first guy I seen, a guy called Roy. So how long have you been in bed for, Roy? 2.5 years. God. I said, well, you seen the lounge? It's gorgeous. I haven't seen it. Oh.
No way.
So he'd seen it on the way through, not seen it for 2.5 years, now toileted. So I said, okay. So we assessed him for a chair, slightly different because of his body shape. And then at the end I said, do you want to see the lounge in the garden I talked about? Oh, yeah. So we took him out to the garden, and he could easily oversee, but for the first time in 2 and a bit years, he'd see fresh air, he'd feel fresh air, sun on his skin, all things you take for granted, and he was beaming. And then the second person we saw, similar story, 3 and a bit years in bed, we got her out, took her into the lounge. She hadn't seen the lounge, so the cat in there. She was chatting to other people. And it can go either way. Some people don't want to leave, so just try it for a little bit. And this lady's daughter walked down the side of the home, saw her mum in the lounge. Her mum waved, and she waved back at her mum. Didn't recognise her mum because it was out of scene. Waved at her mum, went to the room, where's mum? And didn't even realise. Them coming to the lounge in tears. So you see all these nice stories, and for me, it puts things in perspective. I can go home and have a trivial disagreement about washing, or I've left a pair of pants in the bathroom.
Have you now?
No, maybe it's her. And I think you realise what I've seen today, the people I've seen, and it just makes you grateful for what you have. So you do return home. But we get to meet some amazing people.
I would say what you give people a lot of the time is quality of life. And I think,
small degree,
for me, it's like, when I saw my own grandfather getting to his end stages, and just to give him that comfort and that quality of life is priceless.
It is. We get old and people forget about us. It's a sad state. I've drove the way here today, and I've just drove past a nursing home 3 doors down, a day centre, like a nursery. I was thinking, you've got both ends of life, got the end and the start and all this bit in between. We see lots of people towards the end, and no one really talks to them. So when we go out, we learn about who they are. And no, you can get engaged with a photo if they've been in the army, the navy. And I've met people that have, travelled the world, that have invented things, that have collected motorbikes, that have been, famous musicians, done these things. And I bet most people that have seen the last 10 years wouldn't even know what they've done. And once you start talking to people, they become, you see them come out of themselves.
Yeah.
We do that a lot. And the other thing, just relate to that, which we do quite a bit, is music. So we see lots of people with dementia in the care home environment. And it's a common knowledge that music works. But
it does.
I'll normally say, what music does such and such like? The amount of times I just put it on in the background, on a phone, Spotify, put it in the back. And people's hands start going and clapping and feet start moving. You think, it's great for an hour and you feel brilliant, and then it gets to this point you've got to turn your music off and you feel horrendous. Feel like the worst person in the world.
I can safely say, if you'd have met my grandfather, you'd have had all his World War II information. You probably wouldn't have left the house without feeling completely exhausted. Bless his heart. But I think that what that does is that they feel comfortable with you, and that comes down to good training of your staff. I mean, that must be a big part of your business when you get a new employee and you've got to go through the training with them.
To the product part, yes. So we like to know products inside out. Equally, we are we're aware it's a chair, it's a bed. We do everything from scratch, which makes it easier in some respects. We're not trying to fit somebody into a chair. So as long as we can take the time to measure and talk through what they're trying to do, if we see someone who's less, we train them. So if we see somebody that's less active and can't access things as well as they used to do, we're not necessarily trying to get them in a chair where they're perfectly sat and they're nice and symmetrical because it looks great. If we see somebody that does have a heavy lean and that's fixed, and they've had that for 5 years, but by getting used to that lean, they can access their pedals and their things around them. If I then suddenly get them straight, there might not be the quality of life could decrease. Mm-hmm. So all of our staff naturally will look for, we'll try to work out what they're trying to achieve when they go in, and we don't rush people. So we'll tend to do 2 appointments a day. Most companies do 7. We'll do a maximum of 3. And we don't spend ages in people's home, but we've got the time. So if they do want to chat that extra bit longer, we end up moving sofas or fixed air fryer recently and a clock and all sorts of things.
You have multiple uses then.
Not how well I fixed it, but yeah, we get asked to do all these different things, but we don't like being rushed. And we do have some people that would happily chat for 6-7 hours, and there has to be a bit of a balance, but we like to give them the time, that just respect that they deserve, really.
What are the most common misconceptions, do you think, about your industry?
There's lots of conceptions. Some are true. So it's the hard sell, without a doubt. So we go as far as we can out of our way to, we always get frustrated having to tell the story so many times when we're on the phone. We do things so differently. So there's several companies, not just seating, but people who go into the home and they sell. And they all do the same kind of thing. They're there to get a sale. They're salespeople. We tell everyone the way we do it, so we want to be different, but we're the only company that give pricing up front. And I say to customers, we've got 2 other companies coming out, not a problem. I don't need to know. We've got their quote, don't want to see it. You don't need to say it, I don't need to see their quote. If I rang somebody up and they sell, ovens, whatever, I expect them to know the price.
Yeah.
So if you ring them and say, how much are your chairs? I don't know. You sell chairs, you don't know the average price. You know the price. So that avoidance automatically would make me nervous. And that is the common thing in our industry. And we hear stories. I had one last week, spoke to a customer in the south, and they said, we had a lovely chap out. And he said, you're a lovely couple, and I don't expect you to make a decision today, straight away. I thought, that's refreshing. I'll go sit in the van, and I'll pop back in 15 minutes.
Oh, only got 15 minutes to think about it then?
15 minutes, and then it's the start at X price, and then they come down, and I just think, I'd find that insulting. If you're going to sell something at 5,000 and you're selling me at 3,000, 10 minutes later, nothing's changed. It's the same product. They're making money at 3,000. They're making it. It's horrendous. And it's the same as the trade-in type thing. Lots of companies have 50% discounts, 75% discounts, or they'll trade in your old chair. And unless your chair has got all the right markings on it, it's in perfect condition. It's got fire regulation certificate, or at least a label. British Heart Foundation, cancer research, no one's going to touch it. So it ends up in a skip. They're not making money off it. So we say, we'll take your furniture away. I think we sometimes charge £15. That's what it cost me at the recycling plant. And we take it away when they have the new chair, so they're not left out. But I think, ask for a discount. It's going to give you £300 for your old chair. They should just take £300 off your chair. So we try to teach people that nothing is free in this world, and these silly discounts. We really not fans.
No, just say somebody does like one of your chairs or your beds. Is there anything that they can have, any finance or affordability options or anything? Is there anything that you offer them? Because we're a small company, everything's sort of down to the person in the house to make a decision. So quite often, most people do a deposit. So usually we ask for a deposit up front. Usually it's 50%. The balance we do after we deliver the chair. We sort of done a bit of trust. We get asked for finance infrequently, but we have done payment plans. So if people can't, with someone down south for somebody's mother couldn't afford it up front, so we've said you can do it over 2 years. So we do it case by case. Hand on heart, over the years, we've seen some people that do not have the money for a chair, and in them cases, if we've got something off the shelf or an ex-demonstration chair, we can't do it all the time. We donate chairs, so someone that hasn't got the funds, and it's just not going to happen, or they're vulnerable and things. We will go to the extremes of giving them a chair if we've got one available, it's the right size. So it's always case by case, but most of the time it is a deposit and a balance payment. And what about the aftercare as well? Because I would imagine that you like to make sure that they've got their chair, they've got their bed, and everything's working right, and they're back and forth and doing whatever they need to do.
Aftercare is huge. So I used to work for a company called HSL who do seating, and they have showrooms up and down the country. I was headhunted to work for them years ago, and they taught me lots of really good things. It's the only company, they do standard size seating, and lots of customers I say, if you haven't gone to HSL, go there first. You try loads of chairs. If you don't fit into one of their chairs, you need Bespoke, then come back to me. And they taught me early on about customer journey. And so you can do everything right. You can do the assessment right. You can do the product right. But if the delivery is the last touch point you get with the customer and you make that wrong, that's all they remember. So the delivery is one of the last points we get with them. We make sure everything's hand delivered, we move things around for them, we try it, we take all the rubbish away, we cover our trainers or shoes, do those extra bits, and then should they need us after that, we're there. So we don't charge for it. We do get people that are very particular. So sometimes we'll get referred by another company and they say, your competitors recommended you. I was thinking, that's unusual. And we had a chair off them, but we had to return it, and we had another chair and that wasn't comfortable. I think, right, so they've got quite high expectations with a lot of those customers. So we go out there and just talk really honest to them and say, we can't come out to you constantly. I'll do everything I can. We'll agree the chair size, blah, blah, blah. What I can't guarantee for any customer is comfort. I can't say that this chair will be comfortable for you. But if I've got somebody and they know that they have a chair for 3 weeks, it's the best thing in the world. Week 4 and 5, it's horrendous. So we do interchangeable seats quite often now. I do it for lots of people. So if they know they're going to change, so what I'll do is I'll do 2 different seats, a soft seat, a firm seat, a sprung seat, a gel, a water, wherever it might be. These are your 2 favourite seats that you've tried at the assessment. I'll provide you with 2 that are interchangeable. So as and when you want to, it's a 90-second job, you can switch the seats over. That's a relatively common thing. Or it takes a couple of weeks to get used to a chair. So most people have never sat in a chair the right size. So we do say right at the start, when you first have a chair, you might not like it, like a new mattress. Have a 2-week period, or at least a week and a half, try the chair, and then if you're still uncomfortable, or it's not quite right, ring us up. So we do a free follow-up call quite often, and in that call we'll go out and we'll just fine-tune things. And it's not rocket science, it's generally back cushions, taking padding out, we might put more in the lumbar, make it more pronounced, less in the lumbar. We just call it like fine-tuning. But I'm proud, so we've always had sort of 5-star rating. We've got no unhappy customers.
I think that's important, isn't it? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, you're there, you've got the good 5-star ratings. I've seen the reviews that you've had. And so I would say to anybody now, if you've had another company go around and you've been getting a bit of hard sales tactic, I'd say tell them to clear off, for one, and get you guys in and get some proper support and get some proper advice. So it's been a real interesting listen to you because, we've all got those relatives or had those relatives that need that support and that care. So it's been an absolute joy to have you today. But I do like to leave with one final question. And your question today is that if you could spend time with any entrepreneur in the world for a day, who would it be?
Ooh, good question. Entrepreneur.
Who's one who really gets you going?
I'd love to see Branson. I'd love to pick his brains. Partly because he's also, heavily dyslexic. I'm very dyslexic. And he's failed. He's worked hard to get where he is.
Yeah.
Bit of a visionary. So it'd be top of my list. I'd love to meet the Dragon's Den, team as well. And
well, guess who's mentored by Theo?
Seriously.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And you're not allowed to say you're small either. You're not allowed to say you're a small business, or else you get a bit of a telling off.
Really?
Yeah, you do.
No heels on that day.
No. But yeah, Richard Branson, he'd be an interesting one, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I've had friends that have met him, and friends that have worked for Virgin in Norfolk, 10, 15 years ago, and they've met him. They're guys that work in call centres, and they've met him. They've had a summer barbecue every year, and from what I can see, for the success he's remained grounded, and that's important.
Yeah.
Not many people. Lots of people think they're grounded. Lots of people haven't got a good misconception of themselves. They see who they want to be, not who they are. So I think there's not many I'd want to meet, but Yeah, it's a handful.
There's a handful.
Yeah.
Well, I've no doubt that your business is going to go from strength to strength. Keep being you, because it's a joy to see and be and meet people like you who really do care about their customer base. So thank you so much, Shaun, for coming in today.
Yeah, thanks for your time.